In the early days of September 1939, as Adolf Hitler's forces marched into Poland, the world stood on the brink of war. England issued a final ultimatum: withdraw or face consequences. And soon after, Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain addressed a stunned nation over the radio, announcing that Britain was now at war with Germany. But while storm clouds gathered across Europe, another kind of tension was brewing in Walton's mountain, a quiet, personal conflict sparked by the arrival of a new and unexpected figure in their close-knit community. Mary Ellen and Curt arrive at the Walton home, her pregnancy well along, about 7 months showing. Inside, the family gathers around the radio, listening solemnly as Chamberlain's voice fills the room, declaring war. The weight of global events presses in, even here, far from battlefields. Meanwhile, closer to home, a different kind of predator circles, the chicken hawk. It's been stealing from the Walton coop, and John Sr. takes aim with his rifle. But Grandpa Zeeb and young Jim Bob have another idea. Instead of killing it, they'll catch it and relocate it deeper into the Blue Ridge Mountains. They rig a trap, a caged chicken as bait, hidden beneath a large net. In their first test run, however, it's Jim Bob who ends up tangled in the net, much to everyone's amusement. At Boatwright University, Olivia Walton, Sarah Griffith, and Corabeth Godse meet with Dean Beck to interview candidates for the vacant minister's position at their Baptist church. When asked about John Boy, Olivia assures the dean he's doing well, hard at work on his second novel. Then, the dean calls in the candidate, Hank Buchanan, just 26 years old, but already an experienced preacher. Handsome, earnest, and deeply committed, he makes a strong impression. Sarah and Olivia vote in favor of calling him as their new minister. But Corabeth votes no, not because she doubts his qualifications, but because she finds him dangerously attractive. She confesses later that she doesn't trust herself with such temptation so close to home. Still, when Reverend Hank arrives in Walton's mountain searching for the parsonage, it's Aaron Walton who's instantly drawn to him. After his first Sunday service, where his passionate preaching draws a full house, Aaron convinces her mother to invite him to dinner. He accepts warmly. Corabeth, meanwhile, is hurt and indignant that the Waltons didn't include her in the invitation. Determined not to be left out, she plans her own dinner, but pointedly does not invite the Waltons. Her husband, Ike, remains oblivious, his mind fixed on another matter entirely, the looming war. Inspired by news from overseas, he decides to apply for the role of air raid warden and even suggests the new minister might preach on the moral weight of wartime. Back at the Walton house, preparations for dinner are underway. Amy and Elizabeth return from a walk in the woods and share a bubble bath, singing softly together. Soon, Reverend Hank arrives, meeting more members of the Walton clan for the first time. Later, John and Hank set out for a fishing trip, but stop by Yancey Tucker as place for advice on good fishing holes. Instead, they find Yancey deep in a poker game with Horace Brindley. To everyone's surprise, Hank doesn't hesitate. He joins right in, confidently calling the stakes of the next hand. Clearly, he knows his way around a card table. When they return home, Olivia isn't pleased. A minister playing cards? It doesn't sit well with her. That evening, Hank attends dinner at the Godses. Corabeth goes all out: fine china, candles, her best dress. She flirts openly, barely masking her admiration. Ike, ever trusting, notices nothing, but Hank is visibly uncomfortable. He gently steers the conversation back to Ike, trying to balance the attention. Still, he cuts the evening short. He's promised to pick up Aaron from her shift at the telephone office. Afterward, Hank and Aaron go to the movies. Later, back at the parsonage, he puts on some music and asks her to dance. Unseen by them, Mrs. Brimmer arrives with a hot plate of chicken and dumplings, only to peer through the window and witness the two swaying together in the lamplight. Shocked, she turns on her heel and hurries home, scandalized. That same night, Corabeth lies awake in her bedroom, lost in daydreams about the handsome young preacher. By morning, gossip spreads like wildfire. Flossie Brimmer is already whispering about Aaron and the minister at the Godse store. When Olivia walks in, she's pulled into the conversation. She defends her daughter firmly. They went to the movies with permission and insists that Reverend Hank has brought renewed energy to the church. But as she walks away, her expression betrays her worry. At the telephone office, Aaron overhears Fanny Tatum relaying the juicy details over the switchboard. Mortified to be caught in the middle of small-town rumor, Aaron is met with sudden formality. Fanny declares a new rule: Aaron must knock before entering the office from now on. Seeking a moment of peace, Hank stops by the Dewdrop Inn. Thelma, the bar owner, teases him. Will he be preaching to her rowdy patrons next? He smiles and says no, he's just there to hear Jason play piano. Meanwhile, Ike makes a bold move. Convinced of his civic duty, he travels to Richmond to petition the governor himself for the post of air raid captain. He leaves Ben in charge of the store while he's gone. Back in town, Corabeth devises a plan to see Hank alone again. She claims she needs his input on a new choir robe design. At the parsonage, she makes a bold advance, just as Jason and Aaron walk in and witness the awkward moment. Stunned and heartbroken, Aaron runs home and locks herself in her room, ashamed of her feelings for a man so clearly out of reach. Olivia, concerned, visits Corabeth. There, Corabeth confesses everything: her loneliness, her longing for something more refined than life as a shopkeeper's wife, and yes, her attempt to kiss the minister. Just then, Ike returns triumphant. He's been appointed air raid captain. Overcome with emotion, Corabeth throws her arms around him, her earlier indiscretion momentarily forgotten. Olivia quietly slips away. Up on the mountain, Grandpa and Jim Bob finally succeed in trapping the hawk. As they release it into the wild ridges of the Blue Ridge, Grandpa offers a quiet lesson. Man has pushed into the hawk's territory, and sometimes these birds grow clever, learning to survive near human settlements. But they belong in the open sky, free to hunt as nature intended. That evening, Olivia shares Corabeth's confession with John. He can't help but chuckle at the irony, at the human frailty of it all. But their laughter fades when Sarah Griffith arrives with troubling news. Reverend Hank has submitted his resignation. Olivia still believes in him. So John heads to the parsonage, where he finds Hank packing his bags, embarrassed by the rumors and missteps. John sits with him, offering not judgment but wisdom. He urges Hank to stay, to face the congregation, to speak honestly. Maybe, John says, this mess you're in could make for a pretty good sermon. And so, at the next Sunday service, Hank does just that. Standing before his flock, he speaks plainly. He admits his love for cards, his enjoyment of dancing, his very human weaknesses. But he also declares his unwavering commitment to his calling, to serve this community as their minister. A hush falls over the sanctuary. Then, one by one, voices rise from the pews. Stay, we want you, preach on. In that moment, forgiveness and grace settle over Walton's mountain, not just for the minister, but for everyone who's ever stumbled in the dark, hoping for a little light.